Hey guys, Spirit of the Law here. About 5 years ago, I looked into the topic of patrolling and compared it to what was at that point the relatively new attack move command. Both cause your units to auto-engage any enemies they come across, with the difference being with attack move, when units reach the chosen location, they stop, while with patrol, they automatically go back and forth. You would think attack move would be more commonly used to engage enemy units, but in practice you'll find the vast majority of experienced players online use patrol exclusively. So why is that? In the previous video, my takeaway was that attack move had a shorter delay before your units would fight compared to patrol, but that it was more prone to bugginess. Units would attack for a moment, but then would sometimes keep walking, which could cost you a fight. One workaround is you could use the stop command to prevent that bug once they engaged, but it still seemed like attack move was more trouble than it was worth. Of course, at that point in the HD version, patrol was also kind of buggy, but it seemed like the best option. Many players probably stuck with patrol because that's what they were used to, but at the time it really did seem like attack move was a lot more glitchy. Eventually that did get addressed, and trying it now in HD, I don't see the same sort of bugged out units, but it may have come too late to save attack move's reputation. For this video though, I want to check back and see how patrol and attack moves stack up in Definitive Edition. The short answer is, based on what I've found, I've personally switched from patrol to attack move, and you may want to as well. To start off, let's see if the previous differences in delay time that I noticed still exist. Here I have 3 identical setups with the game paused. To the first group of Arbalests, I've issued a patrol command behind the samurai. The second group, I gave an attack move command. The third group is just on attack stance and will pick its own target. When I unpause, you can see the attack move group fires first. This is in line with what I found before, and that units on attack move are more primed to attack in some way. This is very consistent across multiple tests, and the attack move group always fires first. It does look like maybe the patrol group is getting thrown off by trying to form up somehow, so let's try again and have them approach the target once already in formation to eliminate that variable. This time I've pushed them back a few tiles and we'll have both a patrol and attack move group. If I unpause, you can see they end up acting nearly identically. The first shot comes out at the exact same time, and it doesn't appear one starts the engagement significantly faster. Even in super slow-mo, they look pretty much the same to me. I then played around for a bit, trying out patrol and attack move with a large group of Arbalests. Subjectively, it felt like the attack move units were firing at new targets immediately after the command was given, and patrol had a slight delay, but I was also primed to notice that by the earlier test. Other than that, over a lot of time trying them back and forth, I didn't see any obvious differences in unit behavior. Admittedly though, this is pretty subjective, and that's not how I like to run things. We'll switch to a much larger scale performance test in a minute, and it did have some interesting results. Before that though, I want to highlight something that I noticed with melee units. Sometimes it seems like if you give an attack move command when a unit is already fighting, the unit will just freeze for a few seconds and contemplate life's great mysteries. It didn't seem to happen very often if I left units alone, and I should note as well, I saw the same glitch appear when using patrol mid-fight as well. So it seems to be a small risk you run every time you issue orders mid-battle. Every once in a while, a unit can't seem to find a path in melee and it just freezes, occasionally for quite a long period of time. Subjectively, I have to say it felt like it happened more often in melee when using attack move over patrol, so maybe attack move is objectively worse. Why then did I say that I'm personally switching to attack move? Don't worry, we'll get to that. Next though, I wanted to dig a bit deeper and see if there's anything different about a unit's behavior with each command. For example, does one lead to units picking targets any faster? If the time spent choosing your next target was shorter with one of the commands, then in this test, one side should reach their end first. Aside from the faster reflexes of the attack move group though, they seem to switch between new targets at the same rate. Similarly with melee units, here I have 2 units with 1000 attack, and the left one's patrolled and the right one is using attack move. If one command led to the units picking targets faster, we'd expect that one to reach the end of the line first, but as you can see, they're indistinguishable. In contrast, if I compare patrol to just targeting the first unit though, you can see the patrolled unit pulls ahead near the end, which is in line with the idea that patrol and attack move both speed up how quickly units pick new targets. This is part of why in large-scale fights, you really want to make sure you're using one or the other. But going back for a second, let's think about those earlier freezing units. If attack move is introducing more pathing issues, that should theoretically lead to worse performance over time than patrol, even if the effect is too small to notice in a single fight. What we need is to average the results over a lot of battles. Here I have 45 10 vs 10 battles set up. For 1/3 of them, I patrolled the units, 1/3 I used attack move, and the last third I selected a single enemy target. I then recorded how much HP is left on each side at the end of the fight. If red wins, it's a negative number, and if blue wins, it's a positive number. Running an ANOVA test on the results, patrol and attack move were both significantly better than targeting a single unit. That, as well as the fact that patrol did slightly better than attack move, seems to match conventional wisdom. The difference was between 45 HP left on average with Patrol and 12 HP with Attack Move, so it was a relatively small advantage. Simply right-clicking an enemy unit actually turned out to be a losing strategy in the majority of cases, despite having an element of focus firing. For any stats nerds watching, I'm sure you can appreciate those juicy p-values. You have to be a little careful reading into those as they're assuming a normal distribution in outcomes, which may not be true, and you can see the standard deviations are quite large. Now, we'd probably expect the same results for melee units, but it's not so straightforward. Doing the same 10 vs 10 battle with Knights, patrolling did the worst out of the group, and targeting a specific unit did the best. This is the exact opposite of what I found with ranged units. That seems to suggest that you should either use Attack Move or attack a single target in melee, but avoid Patrol, which doesn't make sense, so what's going on? Part of me was skeptical because Patrol doing the worst is so contrary to conventional wisdom. I tried scaling things up to 20 vs 20 so that unit pathing would have more of a chance to show up. Halfway through, I noticed the same trend was emerging where Patrol was doing the worst, so I scaled it up even more to 40 vs 40. This time, I counted units left over instead of HP, as it gets a bit too unwieldy to add all of their health after each test. I got plenty of data and the results were quite interesting. In this case, with either Patrol or Attack Move, you get roughly the same result, with 9 or 10 units left over on average. In this case, the worst method was simply targeting one enemy unit. Part of me was still preoccupied with the freezing units though, and it didn't seem to be showing up in the data. To add one more twist, I set up a trigger to issue a new command every 5 seconds. For one group, their units were sent a command to patrol repeatedly every 5 seconds while in combat. For the next group, they were commanded to use Attack Move every 5 seconds, and the third group was left to just simply patrol into the enemy and give a baseline for comparison. Of course, issuing a new command every 5 seconds is far too often in practice, but if Attack Move leads to more unit freezing, then this should be the test that definitively shows that harmful effect, and Patrol should do significantly better. What I found blew my mind. Both Attack Move and Patrol every 5 seconds were obviously worse than patrolling once, since you're overmanaging your units. That part wasn't a shock. The surprising part is Attack Move every 5 seconds does way better than patrolling every 5 seconds. Repeatedly patrolling led to 16 or 17 enemy units left on average, compared to 8 or 9 with repeatedly using Attack Move. In fact, in a couple of trials, the overmanaged Attack Move group won the fight against an equal number of AI units. But how does that make sense if Attack Move is causing more unit freezing? I think the answer is in the short delay that patrolled units have after you issue a new command. For a couple of seconds, they completely ignore any enemy units they come across and are just taking free hits. With Attack Move, yes, you get more individual unit freezing and glitching, which are very noticeable, but the army as a whole re-engages almost immediately. That's at least what I think is going on. So altogether, what I take away is that with small-scale melee fights, it's actually counterproductive to use Patrol or Attack Move, and you're better off targeting a single unit. It does make some sense that on a small scale, eliminating a single enemy unit matters a lot more, but on a large scale, Patrol and Attack Moves start to look better, and quite similar to each other. That is, unless you're one of those people who overmanages your battles and issues a lot of new orders. In that case, you're actually hurt less if you adopt Attack Move as your default choice. I know I do that sometimes in my own play, so for me personally, I'm going to be switching to Attack Move and see how it goes. If I notice more glitches, I'll switch back and pin a comment below saying I just couldn't take it anymore. But based on these tests, it seems like it helps units jump into battles more quickly. That said, I think it's easy to defend using Patrol for everything. Not only is it the standard, but you probably have some intuition about how your units are going to behave with it. In nearly all the tests, Patrol ended up being just as effective. Now, if you haven't been using either, then I think incorporating one or the other would be a great takeaway, as I think you'll find either one makes your large-scale battles go a lot better. That's all for this one though. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.